The academy was full of whispers that morning. Students of many alien races walked through the bright halls, their voices low and nervous. Something was different today, and everyone could feel it. A new professor had arrived, and nobody knew much about him. Some said he came from a world where the oceans burned with fire. Others claimed he once worked in secret laboratories far beyond the edge of the galaxy. But the strangest rumor was this: he did not teach knowledge. He tested something deeper, something dangerous. The human student sat quietly at the back of the lecture hall. He was just one human among hundreds of alien students, and he often felt small. Most of the time, humans were not taken seriously at the academy. Aliens were stronger, smarter, faster, or so they believed. But the human had one strength of his own. He never gave up, even when everything seemed impossible. When the door of the lecture hall opened, the room fell silent. The new professor entered, tall and thin, his skin glowing faintly with a blue light. His eyes seemed to shine with two different colors at once. When he spoke, his voice sounded strange, like two voices speaking at the same time. The students shivered, because it felt as if the sound touched their minds directly, not just their ears. "Welcome," the professor said, his gaze sweeping across the hall. "I am Professor Archon, and I will decide who among you is worthy to remain here." The words dropped like heavy stones. Students shifted uncomfortably in their seats. The human leaned forward, trying to appear calm, but his heart was beating faster. The professor began his lecture, but it was not like any lesson before. He did not write on the glowing board or share information through screens. Instead, he asked strange questions. "What is fear to you?" he asked a reptilian student. "What would you give up to gain knowledge?" he asked a bird-like student. No matter the answer, the professor only nodded, as if he was not searching for facts, but for something hidden inside each student. Then, his eyes stopped on the human. The room grew even quieter. "You," he said, his voice echoing like thunder and whisper at the same time. "You are human." The human froze, unsure how to respond. The professor's glowing eyes stared directly into him, as if reading his thoughts. "You will not pass this course unless you help me," the professor declared. Gasps filled the hall. Every alien turned to stare at the human, whispering in shock. Never before had a professor spoken like this to a single student. The human swallowed hard, trying not to show fear. "What do you mean?" he asked carefully, his voice trembling. But the professor only smiled faintly, the glow in his eyes pulsing stronger. "You will understand soon," he said. "If you succeed, you will pass. If you fail, you will regret it." The rest of the lecture continued, but the human could not hear a word. His mind kept repeating the professor's strange message. Why him? Why only the human? Aliens laughed quietly behind his back, some mocking, some afraid. One whispered, "The professor will use him and throw him away." Another muttered, "Humans are weak. He will never survive." When the lecture ended, the professor spoke again, his voice echoing through the hall. "Class dismissed except you," he said, pointing at the human. The other students quickly left, throwing curious looks over their shoulders. The human remained seated, his hands clenched tight. The professor's eyes glowed brighter now that they were alone. "Come with me," he ordered. The human stood slowly and followed, each step heavy with dread. They walked down long corridors, deeper into the academy. Lights flickered as if the building itself feared the professor's presence. Finally, they stopped, before a sealed door, one the human had never seen before. The professor pressed his hand against the wall, and glowing symbols appeared, moving like liquid fire. The door unlocked with a sound like a deep sigh. Inside was the professor's private office, but it did not look like an office. The walls were covered with shifting alien runes that seemed alive. Strange devices floated in the air, turning slowly, humming with energy. The human stepped inside carefully, feeling as if he had entered another world. The professor closed the door behind them and locked it. "You want to pass?" he asked softly, his double voice echoing. "Yes," the human replied, his throat dry. Then you must help me, the professor said, leaning closer. There is a place under this academy, a forbidden chamber. Only a human can enter and survive. The human's eyes widened. Why me? Why a human? He asked. The professor's smile deepened, but it did not reach his eyes. Because humans are different, he whispered. And because without you I cannot finish what I started. The human felt cold fear run through his body. The professor's words were heavy, mysterious, and dangerous. This was no normal exam, no simple test. This was something much bigger, something that could change everything. And in that moment, the human realized something terrifying. Passing this course might mean risking his life, but refusing might mean losing everything. He stood frozen, his heart racing as the professor's glowing eyes waited for his answer. The professor's office felt like a living creature. The walls glowed faintly and the runes shifted as if they were watching. The human stood near the center, feeling small under the strange floating machines that hummed softly in the air. The professor closed his eyes for a moment as if listening to something far away, then opened them again, the glow brighter than before. You are human, he said slowly, his double voice echoing. That is why you are here. That is why you can do what others cannot. The human swallowed, unsure if this was a compliment or a curse. What exactly do you want from me? He asked, his voice low. The professor stepped closer, his movements smooth, almost too smooth. There is a chamber beneath this academy, he whispered, a place forbidden to all students and even most teachers, a place built long before your time. The human felt his chest tighten. He had heard rumors of old tunnels under the academy, stories of sealed doors and strange noises at night, but no one ever confirmed them. Now, standing here with the professor, the rumors suddenly felt real. This chamber, the professor continued, was made by those who came before, the ones who shaped the galaxy. It is filled with secrets and dangers, but also something I need, something only you can reach. Why only me? The human asked, his words trembling. The professor's glowing eyes locked onto him. Because the chamber rejects us, it kills us, but humans are different. Your body can survive what ours cannot, and your mind can open doors we cannot touch. The human shook his head. This sounds insane. I'm just a student. I came here to pass an exam, not risk my life. The professor leaned closer until his two colored eyes filled the human's vision. You will pass nothing unless you do this, he whispered. If you refuse, I will make sure you fail every test, every future class until this academy spits you out. The threat cut deep. The human had fought hard to earn his place at the academy. Leaving Earth had not been easy, and now the idea of returning home as a failure burned inside him, but risking his life in some forbidden chamber was worse. Still, the professor's voice carried a strange weight, like gravity pulling him toward a decision he did not want to make. The professor walked to his desk, pressing his hand against it. A hidden drawer slid open, and inside lay a small metallic sphere, glowing with faint blue lines. He lifted it carefully and placed it in the human's hand. This will guide you, he said. It will show you the way through the tunnels, but only you can carry it. If I hold it, it dies. If another alien holds it, it burns, but in your hand it lives. The sphere pulsed gently, like a heartbeat. The human felt warmth travel up his arm, almost comforting, but also strange. He wanted to drop it, but somehow, his fingers refused to let go. What's in this chamber? He asked quietly. The professor paused, then smiled thinly. Knowledge, he said. Power, the kind that can change the future. The human frowned. If it's so powerful, why do you want me to get it for you? For the first time, the professor's expression shifted, a flicker of frustration breaking through his calm face. Because I cannot. Because the chamber kills my kind. Because I am not human, he said sharply. Then he leaned closer again, his voice lowering. And because if you fail, I lose nothing. But if you succeed, we both gain everything. The words chilled the human more than the cold air in the office. He realized then that the professor did not care if he lived or died. All that mattered was the result. But the professor's glowing eyes burned with a strange hunger, a hunger that felt more dangerous than any exam. The human tried to think of a way out. "Why should I trust you?" he asked, his voice firmer now. "You shouldn't," the professor said with a faint smile. "But trust the sphere. It wants to be with you. It chose you." The human looked down at the sphere still glowing in his hand. It pulsed again, and for a moment he thought he heard something, a whisper too soft to understand. He quickly closed his fist around it, his heart racing. This was no ordinary object. This was alive in some way. The professor turned away, walking to the glowing runes. On the wall, he pressed his fingers against them, and they shifted into a new pattern, revealing a hidden map. Beneath the academy stretched a maze of tunnels and chambers, spiraling deep into the ground. "This is where you will go," the professor said, pointing at the largest chamber, glowing red on the map. "This is where the object waits." The human's mouth went dry. "And what happens when I bring it to you?" he asked. The professor's eyes flickered. "Then you pass, and perhaps you become more than just a student," he said. "But remember, do not tell anyone, not your classmates, not your friends. The academy would never allow this. If you are caught, you will be expelled, or worse." The human stared at the glowing map, then at the sphere in his hand. He wanted to throw it all away, run out of the office, and never come back, but deep inside a strange curiosity stirred. Why him? Why humans? And what was really waiting in that forbidden chamber? The professor placed a cold hand on his shoulder. "You begin tonight," he whispered. The runes on the wall dimmed, and the office grew darker. The human stood there frozen, realizing he had no choice. The exam he came to pass was no longer about books or numbers. It had become a test of survival, a test no one had warned him about. And somewhere deep beneath the academy, the chamber waited, humming with secrets too old and too dangerous to stay hidden. Night fell over the academy. Most students returned to their quarters, their laughter echoing faintly through the halls. But the human walked alone, his steps slow and heavy. The metallic sphere pulsed in his hand, glowing faintly like a heartbeat guiding him forward. He had not told anyone what the professor asked of him, not his friends, not even the curious alien roommate who always asked too many questions. He could not risk it. The professor's warning echoed in his mind. If he was caught, he would be expelled or worse. But what frightened him more was not punishment from the academy. It was the mystery of what waited beneath it. The entrance to the tunnels was hidden behind the old storage wing. Most students avoided this place because the lights flickered and the air smelled of rust. The human paused at the rusted door. The sphere pulsed harder, as if urging him to continue. He pressed his hand against the scanner, and to his shock, the door opened. He had no clearance, yet the machine accepted him. The professor had been right. Humans were different here. The stairwell beyond was cold and dark. Metal steps echoed with each footfall as he descended deeper and deeper. The academy's noise faded, replaced by silence, broken only by the hum of ancient machines buried far below. When he reached the bottom, he found a long corridor lined with broken lights and strange markings on the walls. The air felt heavy, thick with something unseen. The sphere glowed brighter, casting a soft blue light that revealed the path ahead. The human walked slowly, his heart racing. Every shadow looked alive. Every sound made him turn his head. Twice he thought he saw movement, but when he lifted the sphere higher, nothing was there. At last, the corridor opened into a vast chamber. The sight stole his breath. The chamber was enormous. A cavern carved into the ground, filled with old machines towering like skeletons of giants. Pipes hung from the ceiling like vines, dripping strange liquid into pools that glowed faintly. In the center stood a pedestal, cracked with age, and upon it lay a dark sealed box. The sphere in his hand pulsed wildly now, as if it recognized the box. The human stepped forward carefully, every muscle tense. As he crossed the chamber, the air grew colder. His breath turned to mist and a low hum filled his ears. It was not the hum of machines. It was something deeper, something alive. Each step felt heavier, as if the ground itself tried to hold him back, but the sphere's glow pulled him onward. Finally, he reached the pedestal. The box was small, no larger than his chest, but it looked impossibly heavy. Its surface was covered in strange patterns that moved slowly, as if they were alive. The human reached out his hand, hesitating. Was this the moment the professor had spoken about? What if touching it killed him? The sphere pulsed one final time, then went dark. The chamber fell silent. The human swallowed hard, his fingers brushing the surface of the box. The patterns rippled at his touch, glowing faintly. And then, the box opened. A sudden rush of air filled the chamber and a soft light poured out. Inside, instead of objects or weapons, was only a crystal. It floated gently, humming like a voice. Before the human could react, the crystal's glow shot into his mind. He staggered back, clutching his head. A voice spoke inside him, clear and powerful. At last, a human has returned. The human gasped. Who are you? But the voice only laughed softly, like an echo of the stars. You are not ready for answers, but you are ready for the truth. Images flashed in his mind. Ancient humans, building machines across the galaxy, armies of alien races bowing before them, worlds shaped by human hands, then fire, war, and silence. The voice whispered, Your kind once ruled, your kind once created, but now you are forgotten. Only you can awaken what was lost. The human fell to his knees, his heart pounding. This was no simple relic, no random discovery. This was proof that humans were not weak, not unimportant. But why had the professor wanted it? The voice seemed to hear his thoughts. Do not trust him. His hunger is not for knowledge, but for control. He will use you as he uses others. The human's chest tightened. The professor had promised him success, promised him power. But now doubt filled his mind. If the voice was telling the truth, giving the box to the professor could be a terrible mistake. Yet, what choice did he have? Without the professor, he could not survive the academy. The crystal's light dimmed, sinking back into the box. The lid closed by itself, sealing with a soft hum. The sphere in his hand glowed again, weaker now, but still alive. You must decide. The voice whispered one last time. Serve him, or serve the truth. The chamber grew still once more. The human stood clutching the box tightly. His hands shook, not from the cold, but from the weight of what he carried. This was more than just a test, more than just a requirement for passing. Of course, this was a secret buried for centuries, waiting only for a human. As he turned to leave, the shadows in the chamber shifted. Something moved in the dark, watching him. The human froze, his breath shallow. The voice inside his mind whispered again, softer now. You are not alone down here. The human's eyes darted across the chamber. Shape stirred among the broken machines, slow and deliberate. He clutched the box tighter, fear surging through him. Whatever guarded this place was waking. And now, it had seen him. The chamber was no longer silent. The air trembled as the human held the sealed box against his chest. From the shadows, shapes shifted, slow, heavy, and unnatural. Metal scraped against stone, echoing like teeth grinding together. Something had woken when the box opened, something ancient. The human's heart raced. He tightened his grip on the glowing sphere in one hand and the box in the other. The sphere pulsed weakly, its light flickering like a candle in the wind. The machines in the chamber stirred, their broken forms groaning back to life. Eyes of dim red light blinked open in the darkness. Figures made of metal and bone dragged, themselves upright, guardians long asleep. The human stumbled backward. The voice in his head spoke again, calm but urgent. Do not fear, they are protectors. They were built to stop intruders, but they sense you are human. Do not run, do not fight. Show them who you are. The human's chest tightened. His instincts screamed to run, but his legs froze. One of the guardians stepped forward, its body half rusted, half living. It raised a clawed hand, and the human thought his life was about to end. Then the box glowed faintly in his arms. The guardian froze, its red eyes dimming to orange. It lowered its hand slowly and bowed its massive head. The others followed, bowing one by one until the entire chamber seemed to kneel before him. The human's breath shook. He had never felt so powerless, yet, at the same time, so important. The voice whispered again, "They recognize you. They recognize humanity. You are their master now, though you do not yet understand your role?" The human whispered back, his voice trembling. "What am I supposed to do with this? Why me?" The voice's tone softened. "Because humans were the first, the builders of machines and keepers of knowledge. Your kind vanished. But the blood remembers, and now you carry the memory." The human's knees weakened, but he forced himself. To stand tall, he turned, clutching the box as he left the chamber. The guardian stayed behind, watching silently, their glowing eyes following his every step. The long corridor back to the academy felt colder than before. When he climbed the metal stairs and finally reached the upper levels, the lights flickered, back to normal. It was as if the world above had no idea what secrets lay beneath it. By the time he returned to the academy halls, dawn was breaking. Students filled the corridors again, talking and laughing. None of them knew that in his arms he carried something older than their civilizations. The human walked quickly, keeping the box hidden beneath his cloak. His mind spun with questions. Should he return it to the professor? Or keep it hidden, like the voice had warned? He did not get much time to decide. The professor was waiting, standing in the middle of the hall, his glowing eyes fixed on the human. "Come with me," he said firmly, his double voice cutting through the noise of students. The human wanted to resist, but the professor's presence pulled at him like gravity. He followed silently into the office again, where the runes glowed faintly. The professor's gaze locked onto the box. "You succeeded," he said, his tone both calm and hungry. "Give it to me." The human held it tighter, his chest tightening. Inside, the voice whispered sharply, "Do not, he will twist it, he will use it against all." The human hesitated. The professor noticed and narrowed his eyes. "You are afraid, I understand, but you cannot comprehend what you hold. Only I can unlock it. Only I can protect the academy from its power." The human's lips trembled. "What's inside it?" he asked. The professor smiled faintly, but it was not warm. "Knowledge. Ancient knowledge. The kind that can bend reality itself. Humans should not keep it. It would destroy you." The voice inside his mind laughed softly. "He lies. He seeks power, not protection. The knowledge is yours, only yours." The human's hands shook. The box seemed heavier than before. Two paths stretched before him: hand the box to the professor and be safe, or trust the mysterious voice and risk everything. The professor stepped closer, his glow stronger now. "You want to pass your exam, yes? You want to stay in this academy? Then give it to me and all will be easy." The human's stomach twisted. The professor's words were tempting, but his eyes burned with greed. The voice whispered again, more urgent. "Choose carefully, your decision will shape more than your future, it will shape the fate of all." The human shook his head. "I need time," he said, his voice firm. The professor's glowing eyes narrowed, but he forced a smile. "Very well. Take one day, but tomorrow you will decide. Bring me the box, or face failure." The human left the office, his legs weak. His heart racing, he hurried back to his room, locking the door behind him. Placing the box on his desk, he sat and stared at it. It pulsed faintly, like it was alive. The voice spoke again, calmer now. "You are not ready to open me. Not yet, but soon when you are stronger." The human leaned forward, whispering, "Why did you choose me? I'm nobody, just a human student." The voice's tone softened, almost kind. "Because even the smallest star can light the darkest sky, and because humans are never just humans." The human closed his eyes, exhaustion washing over him, but deep inside a fire had started to burn. For the first time he did not feel weak or small. For the first time he wondered if maybe the professor was wrong about who truly had power. and as the academy carried on with its normal life above, the human sat in his dark room with the ancient box before him, unaware that shadows outside were already moving, watching, waiting, for the awakening had begun, and nothing could stop it now. The human barely slept that night. The box pulsed faintly on his desk, its glow soft but constant, like a heart that never rested. Each time he closed his eyes, the voice whispered to him, sometimes clear, sometimes only echoes he could not understand. When dawn came, he felt more tired than before, but also sharper, as if the whispers had burned away his fear. He carried the box under his cloak as he walked through the academy halls. Every glance from alien students felt heavier now, as if they could somehow sense the secret he carried. The professor's warning still echoed in his mind. One day, bring it to me. But the voice inside the box whispered back, he cannot be trusted. By afternoon, the professor summoned him again. This time, the office was darker, the runes glowing with a deep red light instead of blue. The professor stood waiting, his hands clasped behind his back, his glowing eyes steady. You have had your night, he said softly. Now let us speak of truth. The human kept the box hidden. I want answers first, he said, his voice firmer than before. The professor tilted his head, studying him. Very well, you deserve that much, he replied. He walked to the wall, pressing his hand against the runes. They shifted and changed, forming a large image of the stars. A map of the galaxy unfolded before them, points of light shining like jewels. This, the professor said, was once ruled not by my people, nor by theirs, but by yours. The human's breath caught. What do you mean? Humans never ruled anything. We only just joined the Galactic Academy. The professor's double voice deepened, almost like thunder. You believe that because history has been rewritten, because truth was buried. But long ago, humans were. The builders, the explorers, the creators of technology so powerful that even now my kind cannot match them. He turned to face the human, his glowing eyes sharp. The box you carry is proof of that. It responds to you because it was made for you. Your ancestors built it, not mine, not anyone else's. The human's knees weakened, his chest tight. The voice inside his mind whispered softly. He speaks. Truth now, but not all of it. Then why do aliens treat us as weak? The human asked bitterly. The professor's smile was thin, without warmth. Because you forgot. Because time and fear erased your place in history. The galaxy is cruel. It does not honor the fallen. It uses them, without memory of your past. Humans became small and the others grew stronger. The human clenched his fists. So what do you want from me? From this box? The professor stepped closer, his eyes glowing brighter. I want to restore what was lost. I want to unlock the ancient knowledge your kind left behind. With it, I can guide the galaxy to order, to strength, and you can stand beside me, the voice inside the box hissed in warning. No, he seeks control, not order. He will use you as a tool, then break you. The human felt torn. The professor's words sounded powerful, even noble, but the hunger in his eyes betrayed him. Why can't you open it yourself? The human asked. The professor's face hardened. Because it rejects us, because it remembers its makers, and I am not one of them. Only a human can unlock its heart. Only you. The human's grip tightened around the box. Every part of him wanted to believe he was important, that he mattered. But another part screamed that trusting the professor would mean doom. He took a deep breath. And if I refuse? The professor's smile vanished. Then you will fail, not just in my class, not just in this academy, but everywhere. I will make sure of it. His double voice grew darker, sharper. You will be nothing but a forgotten child of a forgotten race. The words cut deep. The human's hands shook, but he refused to let go of the box. He turned toward the door. But before he could leave, the professor spoke again, softer now, almost pleading. Think, human. With me you can rise. With me you can bring your kind back to glory, but alone you will be crushed. The human walked out without answering, His chest burned with anger and confusion. The corridors felt different now, heavier, as if every wall carried the weight of history. Aliens walked past him laughing, confident, never knowing the truth of what humans once were, and never knowing what he carried in his hands. Back in his quarters, he placed the box down, staring at its faint glow. The voice spoke again, calm but heavy. "You see now, the professor speaks of your people's past, but he twists it. He wishes to control what belongs to you, not to share it." The human whispered back. "Then what do I do? If I keep it, I risk everything. If I give it, I lose everything." The box pulsed faintly as if thinking. "There is another way," the voice said. "Unlock me yourself, not for him, not for the academy, but for your people, for humanity. The power is yours to claim if you dare." The human's heart pounded. His fingers hovered above the glowing patterns on the surface. A choice lay before him. Betray the professor and take the power, or trust the professor and risk losing it all. Both paths were dangerous, both filled with shadows. He closed his eyes, breathing slowly. "I will decide," he whispered, "but not for him, not for fear, for me." The box pulsed brighter as if pleased. Outside his door, footsteps echoed, slow and heavy. The human froze, listening. The shadows of two glowing eyes flickered under the door. The professor was watching, waiting. The hidden truth was no longer hidden. It had begun to burn inside him, and it would change everything. The human did not open the door. He sat frozen, staring at the faint glow of the box while the sound of footsteps echoed outside his quarters. The shadow of two glowing eyes flickered under the crack, and then, slowly, the footsteps moved away. But the human knew the professor was not gone. He was watching, waiting for the right moment. The box pulsed softly on the desk, its light steady. The voice spoke again, calm but filled with warning. "He will not stop. He has tasted your strength, and now he wants it for himself." The human pressed his hands against his face, his thoughts twisting. "He said he could make me pass. He said he could protect me. Maybe I should just give it to him." The voice grew sharper. "No. Protection is not what he seeks. He wants chains around you, golden chains. You must see this." Hours passed like slow rivers. The human skipped classes. He did not eat. He only sat in silence, torn between fear and temptation. By nightfall, exhaustion dragged him down, and he fell asleep beside the box. Dreams swallowed him quickly. In the dream, he stood in the great chamber again. The guardians bowed before him, their eyes glowing softly. The crystal from inside the box floated in front of him, humming gently. The voice whispered in the dream, "You must choose your path. Child of Earth, do you serve his hunger or do you serve your own destiny?" Before the human could answer, the dream shattered into light and he woke with a start. His door was open. The professor stood inside his room, silent as shadow, his glowing eyes burning brighter than ever. The human leapt to his feet, grabbing the box. How did you?" The professor raised a hand, the runes on his fingers glowing faintly. "Locks mean nothing to me," he said, his double voice calm but heavy. "You have had your time. Now the box belongs to me." The human held it tighter, his chest burning. "No, you lied to me. You want to use it." The professor's smile was sharp. "Of course I want to use it. What else is power for? But with me, you will rise, you will pass, you will stand where no other human has stood. Without me, you will be crushed." The box pulsed in his hands, the voice whispering fiercely, "Do not give him what he wants or you will doom more than yourself." The human's heart pounded, sweat rolling down his neck. He backed away toward the wall, but the professor advanced step by step, his presence filling the small room. "I can take it by force," the professor said coldly, "but I prefer you hand it to me willingly. It will hurt you less." The air grew heavy. The runes on the professor's skin glowed brighter. The room itself seemed to bend around him. The human felt the weight pressing down, his knees almost buckling, but the box glowed brighter, pushing back against the pressure, protecting him, The professor's eyes narrowed, his smile fading. So, it defends you, he muttered. Then I will break it from you. The floor shook as he raised both hands, runes blazing like fire. Energy crackled in the air, making the human's hair rise. The human ducked, clutching the box, as a blast of force tore across the room, shattering the desk and sending shards of metal flying. He rolled to the side, his ears ringing, his body shaking. The professor's power was overwhelming. The voice in his head shouted, "Stand. Do not run. The box is with you. Let it guide you." The human stumbled to his feet, clutching the glowing box tight. A strange warmth spread through him, filling his chest, flowing into his arms. The patterns on the box lit up, casting beams of light across the room. The professor stopped, his eyes widening. How are you doing this? You don't even know what it is." The human's voice trembled, but it was louder now, stronger. "Maybe I don't, but it chose me, not you." The light surged outward, forming a shield that absorbed the professor's next strike. The air cracked with energy, walls shaking, the glow spilling into the hallway. Students rushed from their quarters alarmed, whispers spreading like wildfire. "What's happening? It's coming from the human's room. No one can fight the professor and live." The professor snarled, his calm gone. "You think you are special? You are nothing without me. Nothing." He struck again, but the box pulsed stronger, pushing him back. For the first time, the professor stumbled, his eyes wide with disbelief. The human felt power flow through him, but it was not his own strength. It was the memory of something older, something human. The voice whispered gently, "Yes, this is only the beginning. The spark of what you are." The professor's glow dimmed as he stared at the box in rage. "You will regret this," he hissed, his double voice sharp like knives. "This academy will never protect you, and neither will that cursed relic. You have made me your enemy." With a final glare, he vanished in a flicker of light, leaving the room wrecked and silent. The human collapsed to his knees, panting, the box still glowing in his arms. Outside, students whispered in fear and awe. The human heard their voices through the broken doorway. He stood against the professor and lived. No human could do that. Could they? The human's chest rose and fell, his body weak, but inside a fire burned brighter than ever. He was no longer just a student, no longer just another human in a galaxy that ignored his kind. He had been chosen, and now the professor was his enemy. The betrayal was complete, and the real test had only just begun. The academy was no longer calm. Whispers spread like fire through the halls. A human had stood against Professor Archon and survived. Some students laughed in disbelief. Others spoke in fear, but all of them now looked at the human differently, no longer invisible, no longer weak. He had become a mystery. Inside his ruined quarters, the human sat on the floor, the glowing box beside him. His body ached, his mind burned with questions, but the voice in his head stayed steady. "The betrayal has happened. Now comes the final test," it whispered. The human touched the box gently. "What test? Haven't I suffered enough?" The voice replied, calm and heavy. "This was never about passing an exam, it was about proving who you are, and now the one who betrayed you will return, stronger and more desperate than before." The human barely slept. Each shadow in the corridor felt alive. Each whisper of students reminded him that eyes were everywhere. By morning, the academy announced lockdown. A blast of sound echoed through the speakers. "All students remain in your quarters. Do not enter restricted areas. This is not a drill." The human knew why. The professor had not vanished. He was preparing. The voice confirmed it. "He will not accept defeat. He will claim the box or destroy you." That evening, the floor trembled beneath the academy. Lights flickered and alarms screamed. The students panicked, rushing through the halls, while teachers shouted orders, but the human did not run. He held the box in his arms and walked straight toward the center hall. If the professor was coming, he would face him openly. The great hall of the academy was vast. Columns of glowing stone reached high into the ceiling, and alien banners hung from every side. Now it shook with energy. Professor Archon stood at the far end, his form taller, his glow brighter than ever. Students and teachers gathered at the edges, afraid to step closer. All eyes turned to the human standing alone with the box. The professor's double voice boomed across the hall. "Give it to me, human. This is your last chance." The human gripped the box tighter. "No," he said, his voice steady though his body shook. "It chose me, not you." The professor's glow flared, filling the hall with blinding light. "You think you are special? You are only a child of ruins clinging to the dust of your ancestors." The human raised the box high. "Maybe I am, but even ruins can hold power, and even dust can rise again." The air cracked with energy as the professor struck. A wave of force shot across the hall, shattering stone and sending students screaming. But the box pulsed, casting a shield of light around the human. The attack broke against it, scattering like sparks in a storm. The human stepped forward, each pulse of the box filling him with strength. The voice whispered, "Now, show him what it means to be human." The patterns on the box glowed brighter, flowing up his arms like living fire. For a moment he felt connected to something vast, not just the box, but every memory of his people, every forgotten achievement, every hidden strength. The professor struck again, his runes blazing like burning suns. But the human raised his hand, the shield expanding. The force shattered against it, and for the first time, the professor staggered backward. Gasps filled the hall. "Impossible," the professor hissed. "No human should stand against me." The human's voice rang clear. "You were wrong about us. You were wrong about me. Humans are not weak. We endure. We rise and we fight when no one else will." The box's light surged outward, striking the professor. The glow around him faltered, his runes dimmed, his body trembled. He tried to push back, but the light grew stronger, wrapping him in chains of energy. The professor roared, his double voice twisting with rage. "This is not the end, human. You cannot escape what is coming." Then with a final flash he vanished, leaving only silence. The great hall shook one last time, then grew still. The students stared in silence, their eyes wide. A human had defeated a professor not with alien strength, but with something older, something greater. The human lowered the box, his chest heaving, his body weak. The voice whispered, gently, "You have passed the true test, but this is only the beginning." The box opened by itself, the crystal rising into the air. It spun slowly, projecting a map across the hall. Stars filled the ceiling, constellations forming paths. At the center was Earth, but from it stretched lines to distant worlds. The voice spoke so all could hear. "Humanity is not lost. Their relics remain, scattered across the galaxy, waiting to be found, waiting to awaken." The students gasped. Teachers whispered in shock. The human stared at the map, his heart pounding. He had come here to pass one exam, and instead found a destiny that stretched beyond the stars. The professor was gone, but his warning lingered. This was not the end. It was the beginning of something far greater. The human closed his hand around the box. The glow dimmed, but the fire inside him burned stronger than ever. He was no longer just another student, no longer just another human. He was the one chosen by the relics, the one who would uncover the forgotten power of his kind. The academy watched in silence as he walked out of the hall, each step carrying him not toward an exam, but toward a future that would change the galaxy forever. The final test was not the professor. The final test was the path now opening before him, and he was ready to walk it.